It's a Monday. It's November 7th, 2022. This Day Weather Podcast is being brought to you by Cowboy State Daily, Wyoming's news authority. Check them out at cowboystatedaily.com. Also brought to you by Chugwater Chili, the gourmet spice of Western life. Boy, we've had some chili eating weather here lately. More is on the way. Get 20% off if you use Chugwater Don at checkout. Another strong Pacific storm. This will be the second strong Pacific storm that we've had in 2 weeks. Ultimately, this is great news because the amount of snow that's hit the northwestern mountains of the United States and some of the rain falling in some of the Pacific Northwest is badly needed. We'll show you where we are with Snowpack. It's quite impressive so far. What we're going to have is this strong Pacific storm kind of stalled off the coast of Washington, Oregon, and California for a couple of days. This is going to make the weather east of the Continental Divide along the Front Range mild and windy with a strong easterly wind, southeasterly wind. It's going to be windy west of the Divide with areas of rain and snow showers to start the week. However, as the storm gets unstuck and moves off the Pacific coast and through the central and northern Rockies, mountain snows are going to really ramp up. Lower elevations, late Wednesday through Thursday, we'll be looking at some snow chances. And this is the area we need to watch. We do have the potential for a major winter storm this week for northeastern Wyoming, southern and eastern Montana, the western side of South Dakota, North Dakota, and stock growers and travelers travelers, if you're going to be either in those areas or heading to those areas by the end of the week, we're monitoring the potential of a winter storm. I think it's a foregone conclusion there's going to be one. It's just going to be exactly where this system is going to track. This will be a system really focusing its attention on the Interstate 90 corridor in that general vicinity. This will be a system tracking more to the north and east. But colder air coming on the backside of it is going to mean everybody's going to get cold by the end of the week and into the weekend with some snow showers. We'll show you where we think the storm is going to have its biggest impact. Here's a shot out of Alpine, Wyoming, Saturday morning as these Pacific waves come on in. Beautiful shot there with still some aspen leaves and the fresh snowfall. And then here's a great picture out of the Lyman, Wyoming area where that front came in late last week. Question is, well, what causes this type of ice situation on the wheels and on the bus here? Well, this is where you have just the perfect temperature, and when you have slushy roadways and that slush gets thrown up by the tires, accumulates, and it's cold enough to freeze rapidly and then build on itself, just basically like an icicle, but then you have the spinning tires and you have yourself a really unique formation there, but it really takes just the perfect setup for that to happen. Today's satellite photo shows just that classic cold air pocket over the Pacific there off the coast of Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. The strong southwest flow ahead of the system, and then as the moisture comes up, hits the mountains of Western Canada, the Pacific Northwest, the Panhandle of Idaho area here, you're going to have areas of rain and snow in this axis right here. This system is just going to spin around here for a couple of days, pumping in a southwest flow here, keeping it warm in this area here, very warm, while there's a lot of very, very cold air up here. Now, the latest trend that we've had over the last week has had a significant increase in the snowpack. Across the Intermountain West here, any dark blue areas means the snowpack is currently 150% or more above average. And you can see some very impressive numbers. The mountains of northern Utah this weekend just got creamed, and they're going to get creamed with another 2 to 3 feet of snow with this next storm. And 2 to 3, 4 feet of snow will fall in the Sierra Nevada and other mountains of the Pacific Northwest. Now you can see in Wyoming, parts of northeastern Colorado here, well, the snowpack numbers are much lower. They're not bad, they're much lower. And that's because you get a gradient in the pattern where the heaviest precipitation falls on the windward side of the mountains, and there's not as much once you get on the eastern side of the mountains. But even these numbers here, by the end of the week, are going to be growing as well. So this is really good to see the snowpack off like this. So here's today's forecast chart. This is for this morning. You can see the low there just off the coast of Seattle. And you can see that it's just kind of sitting there right now. We need a kicker, which is up here to begin to have it move. And that's not really going to be until tomorrow night or Wednesday. See this low here? Well, that's Tropical Storm Nicole. and we need to keep an eye on it. We'll talk about Nicole here in a moment. This red arrow shows a southeasterly flow into the area, which means some windy conditions are going to be developing. So you get into eastern Colorado, eastern Wyoming, western Nebraska, western Kansas, the panhandle of Texas, northeast New Mexico. It's going to be windy. It's going to be windy as you have a tight pressure gradient as the very strong low pressure is drawing air from the southeast into the area. That's why it's going to be mild here for a couple of days, but also very windy. These are the forecasted wind gusts through Thursday afternoon. So like what we saw over the weekend, which was insane, it's going to be very windy at times throughout the Intermountain West over the weekend. 80, 90, and over 100 mile per hour wind gusts were reported across many areas of Wyoming, some areas of northern Colorado's higher elevations, just screaming winds. And this type of pattern, you're going to get a lot of wind with the rain and snow as well. And this is why we have concerns that when it all kind of comes together and the low jumps over the Continental Divide, by Thursday morning, the low's about over Rawlins and Saratoga, Wyoming, and it starts to make its jump over the divide. And what we'll see is Nicole heading towards Florida, this storm jumping over the divide. And so we're going to have a tropical storm or hurricane, and then we're going to have a snowstorm / potential early season blizzard up into the northern plains at the same time. You're going to get a lot of wind out ahead of the system as well on Thursday as it moves in. And here's Nicole. It is likely going to be a tropical storm or a category 1 or 2 hurricane maybe, and then it's going to go right across southern Florida. It's not going to be anything like Hurricane Ian, but it's certainly going to affect parts of Florida that really don't want to see more rain. And they're going to get a lot more, probably 5 to 10 inches worth or more as it moves on through. But the winds and the conditions won't be like it was for Ian. But there's a lot going on. As we get into Thursday afternoon and evening, this is for 6 p.m. Thursday, look at the low intensifying right in that South Dakota, Nebraska border area. Now, when a storm takes a track like this is the type of storm track that gets southern Montana, northern Wyoming, the Dakotas, and parts of far northwest Nebraska hard with heavy winds, heavy snow, and that blue arrow is representing an Arctic air mass that is sitting up there right now that is going to have access into the region. As that moisture gets streamed out ahead of the low, look at this. Look at California. Wow, that is great news. Then you can see the heavier bands of moisture heading up into the mountains. And then you can see by Thursday, 6 p.m., the heavier moisture spreading out across the Dakotas and far northern Nebraska. This is the snowfall forecast through Saturday morning. Look at these snow totals across South Dakota, northeastern Wyoming, southeast Montana, then of course back up into the mountains. There'll be a lot of wind with this situation, so livestock interest in this area right here, you're going to want to pay very close attention to the storm. Travel will be adversely impacted as well. This is the temperature anomaly by 6 p.m. Thursday, and you can see the huge contrast, a big tongue of warm coming up out of that storm while Arctic air is coming in on the back side of it. So there's a lot of moving parts here. A recipe for a very intense northern plains storm will develop. This is by 6 p.m. Thursday. The cold front is past I-70, past Goodland on the way to southeast Colorado. The purple showing temperature anomalies of near 30 degrees Fahrenheit below the 30-year average. So you're talking about a big plunge in temperature Thursday and Friday. So talk about weather whiplash. It's going to be very mild here to start the week in many areas and a whole lot colder by the end of the week. This is by Saturday morning. The cold just takes over, pushing very quickly across the Corn Belt and the Midwest, pushing all the way down into the heart of Texas. And that cold air in this pattern, this is the 10-day forecast. We got a high there in the eastern Pacific. This is a winter pattern where the winds aloft into North America are coming in from the north-northwest, from the Rockies eastward. So you're going to have a situation where it's going to be a winter pattern here as we get into the 7 to 10-day period. And that Arctic air is going to have easy access to the north central, the west central, and the northeastern areas of the United States. And these are the temperature anomalies by next Wednesday. So you can see most of the lower 48, most of central Canada, going to be colder than average. So a lot of changes going on as we get deeper into November. And the Eastern Pacific Oscillation, even the control run of the model has even gone off the charts negative. So as long as we can continue to see this, it is a trend that is looking a lot colder over the next 7 to 10 days. Have yourself a great Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.